By faith, Abraham, even though he was past age, and Sarah herself was barren, wasn't able to become a father because he considered him faithful who made the promise.
Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, "God has given me laughter, and all who hear about this will laugh with me." And she added, "Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would bear children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age."
And so, from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as countless as the stars in the sky, and as numerous as the sand on the seashore.
By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had received the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead, and figuratively speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death.
Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, "Abraham." "Here I am, Lord," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about." So Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac, and he himself took the fire and the knife. As the two of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and asked his father Abraham, "Father?" "Yes, my son," he replied. "The wood and the fire are here," he said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the two of them went on together. When they reached the place that God had told him about, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham! Abraham!" "Here I am," he replied. "Do not do anything to the boy. Do not lay a hand on him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son whom you love." Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket, he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over, took the ram, and sacrificed it as a burnt offering in place of his son. So Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided."
All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised, but only saw them and welcomed them from afar. And they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on this earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. Had they been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were looking for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, because he has prepared a city for them.
By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when his end was near, spoke about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions about his bones.
Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and bring you up out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must bring my bones up from this place. And the bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought from Egypt, were buried at Shechem, in the tract of land that Jacob bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem. This became the inheritance of Joseph's descendants.
By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw that he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict.
Now a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, and she conceived and bore a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him away for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put the basket among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to get it. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. And the girl went and got the baby's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child had grown older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water."
By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God, rather to enjoy the sufferings of sin for a short time.
He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than all the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking forward to his reward.
By faith, he left Egypt. He persevered, not fearing the king's anger, because he saw him who is invisible.
The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people, and I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers. And I am concerned for their suffering. So I have come down to take them up out of that land into a good land, a spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. And Moses said to God, who am I that I would go to Pharaoh to bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. And this will be the sign to you that it is I who sent you. When you bring the Israelites out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain.